Your one click on the subscribe button makes a huge difference. Thank you for your kind support.
The mystery surrounding Sara's death forms the emotional core of Desert Dawn, with Luke's quest to uncover the truth driving much of the narrative. As the layers of deception are peeled back, we discover that the person truly responsible for ordering Sara's death was Deputy Barnes, Luke's supposed ally and colleague who had been working with Fernando Carrillo's trafficking operation the entire time. Sara's story begins during Luke's 3,785-day absence from his hometown. With her brother gone and her parents deceased in an accident, as Luke mentions during his conversation with Cheyenne at the diner, Sara found herself vulnerable and alone. Barnes, taking advantage of this situation, arranged for Sara to be trafficked into Fernando Carrillo's operation. This shocking betrayal is only revealed in the film's third act, when Barnes confesses, "I arranged for Sara to be trafficked when you left town." Fernando Carrillo, the self-described sheriff's guardian, who runs a sophisticated human trafficking and drug smuggling operation, initially maintains a veneer of civility. He explains to Luke that Sara was one of my best girls, whom he picked up very young. Fernando's casual description of how he acquired Sara for his operation reveals the calculated cruelty of his business model, targeting vulnerable young women without strong family connections who wouldn't be immediately missed. What sealed Sara's fate was her discovery about the true extent of Fernando's operation. While working as one of Fernando's girls, Sara learned that his business extended far beyond prostitution. Fernando's organization was involved in a complex network of human trafficking that moved women across borders, using technologies like the X90 tracking devices to monitor their movements and prevent escapes. More damning was her discovery that influential figures in the town were complicit in this operation, including Deputy Barnes, who was supposed to uphold the law. When Sara discovered this connection between local law enforcement and Fernando's human trafficking ring, she became what Fernando describes as a liability. In his words to Luke, "She couldn't let her go out of the house. I wanted to go out, and I left her out." This chilling euphemism for murder reveals Fernando's calculating approach to eliminating threats to his operation. However, before her death, Sara hatched an escape plan with Baron Cresman, a courier who had fallen in love with her. Cresman was involved in transporting money for Fernando's organization, and together they planned to steal this money and escape. Fernando explains to Luke, "She convinced Cresman, to steal the money from me, and then she wanted with her." Their plan ultimately failed, resulting in both their deaths to Cresman's made to look like a suicide, while Sara's body was later discovered in the morgue by Luke in a devastating scene. The most shocking revelation comes when Barnes admits that the entire setup, bringing Luke back to town as sheriff, was orchestrated specifically to frame him as the fall guy for the criminal enterprise. Barnes tells Luke, "I brought you back to town specifically to frame you as the fall guy in this criminal enterprise." This explains why Luke was appointed sheriff despite his troubled past and long absence. He was never meant to succeed but rather to take the blame when the operation inevitably faced scrutiny. Sara's discovery about Fernando's operation went beyond just identifying Barnes as corrupt. She uncovered a systematic network of exploitation that involved multiple levels of authority in the town. Fernando's business required the cooperation of officials to transport women across borders, launder money through legitimate businesses, and ensure that investigations were directed away from his activities. The X90 tracking devices found at Cresman's crime scene were part of a technological infrastructure that enabled this trafficking network to operate efficiently. Fernando's statement that he couldn't let her go out of the house, but then left her out, suggests a calculated decision to have Sara killed rather than risk her exposing his operation. While Fernando authorized her execution, it was Barnes who likely carried it out or arranged the details, maintaining his cover as a law enforcement officer while serving Fernando's interests. This complex web of betrayal explains why Sara's disappearance was never properly investigated before Luke's return. With Barnes in a position of authority in the sheriff's department, any inquiries could be readily diverted or suppressed. It also explains why Barnes was so resistant to Luke's investigation methods from the beginning. Every step Luke took towards solving Cresman's death brought him closer to uncovering Barnes' involvement in Sara's fate. The truth about Sara's death represents the complete corruption of the systems meant to protect vulnerable people in this desert town. From local law enforcement to business operations, Fernando's influence had created an environment where someone like Sara could disappear without consequences. Her discovery threatened to expose not just individual corrupt actors but an entire ecosystem of exploitation that had taken root during Luke's absence. In the film's climactic confrontation, when Luke finally learns the full truth about Sara's fate, his quest for vengeance becomes inevitable. Sara discovered that the very institutions meant to protect her were complicit in her exploitation, and this knowledge cost her her life. By bringing these dark truths to light, Luke completes what his sister started, exposing the corruption that allowed Fernando's operation to flourish.